Resident Evil Requiem. The Resident Evil franchise has reinvented itself countless times, but Resident Evil Requiem looks like it could be the boldest chapter yet. Capcom seems to be doubling down on its survival horror roots, promising a game drenched in atmosphere and psychological tension. Early reports suggest that Requiem will explore a crumbling European city where memories and reality begin to blur, forcing players to question not only their survival, but their sanity. The mechanics are said to expand on what Resident Evil 4 Remake perfected. Tight third-person combat, limited resources, and a constant feeling that danger lurks just out of sight. But Requiem adds a new layer, hallucinations and shifting environments that keep players constantly second-guessing themselves. Imagine stepping into a hallway that melts into another dimension right before your eyes. Fans love Resident Evil for its mix of action and terror, and Requiem seems to embrace both. If Capcom pulls this off, we're not just getting another good sequel. We could be looking at one of the most terrifying and innovative entries in the series' entire history. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. When you hear the name John Carpenter, you immediately think of horror classics like The Thing and Halloween. Now imagine him lending his twisted imagination to a video game. That's Toxic Commando. Set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by grotesque zombie-like creatures, this game brings old-school B-movie thrills into a modern co-op shooter. The hook here is over-the-top action. Picture a squad of heavily armed misfits blasting through horrors of mutants in heavily armored vehicles, while Carpenter's signature dark humor and retro vibes ooze through every scene. It's campy, it's brutal, and it's unashamedly fun. Gameplay footage already shows a mix of Left 4 Dead-style co-op chaos and vehicular carnage, and with Carpenter's influence, you can expect a killer soundtrack drenched in synth and atmosphere. This isn't aiming to be subtle, it's aiming to be the ultimate cult classic experience for gamers who love both horror and action. Ninja Gaiden 4. It's been over a decade since fans got a proper Ninja Gaiden title, and now Ninja Gaiden 4 is finally on the horizon. Known for its blistering fast combat and insane difficulty, this series has always separated casuals from true warriors. The big question is, how will Team Ninja modernize the formula for a new generation? Expect razor-sharp swordplay with a focus on fluid combos and lightning-fast reflexes. Early whispers suggest an open-level design that rewards both stealth and aggression, along with brutal boss fights that demand absolute precision. Ryu Hayabusa is back, and his journey could push the lore of the series into darker territory, exploring ancient curses and demonic enemies more horrifying than ever before. For longtime fans, Ninja Gaiden 4 isn't just another sequel, it's redemption. If Team Ninja can balance hardcore difficulty with accessibility for newcomers, this could reignite one of the most legendary action franchises in gaming history. Kaidan. Kaidan is a brand new IP, and it already has horror fans buzzing. Inspired by Japanese folklore, it promises to be a chilling supernatural adventure where players confront restless spirits, curses, and ancient legends come to life. The game leans into atmosphere above all else. Expect moonlit villages, abandoned temples, and forests where every shadow could be hiding something sinister. But this isn't just about jump scares, it's about deeply unsettling storytelling, where every ghost you encounter has a tragic backstory waiting to be uncovered. Gameplay is rumored to mix stealth, exploration, and spiritual combat, using charms and rituals to fend off malevolent forces. Think of it as a fusion between Fatal Frame and Sekiro, but wrapped in authentic Japanese myth. If executed well, Kaidan could become a fresh horror masterpiece. LEGO Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight. LEGO games have always been fun, family-friendly adventures, but LEGO Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight is rumored to take things further. Instead of just parodying the Dark Knight stories, it's said to explore the entire Batman mythos in one massive game. From the campy Adam West days to the gritty modern era, this LEGO title might let players relive every version of Batman, each with unique abilities and comedic twists. Imagine switching between a blocky Michael Keaton Batman and a Lego Robert Pattinson Batman, each handling differently in combat and stealth. What makes LEGO games shine is their humor and accessibility, and with Batman's massive rogues gallery, the potential for hilarious and creative levels is endless. For younger players, it'll be a blast, and for older fans, it could be the most nostalgic LEGO adventure yet.
Valor Mortis. If there's one game on this list that could become the next sleeper hit, it's Valor Mortis. This dark fantasy RPG is being compared to classics like Dark Souls and Dragon's Dogma, but with its own sinister twist. Set in a cursed medieval kingdom, players must lead a band of warriors through a land haunted by death itself. Every battle is brutal, every victory feels earned, and death has permanent consequences that shape the world around you. Lose a companion, and the story shifts. Fail to protect a village, and it stays ruined for the rest of your playthrough. What excites fans is the sheer ambition. Dynamic storytelling mixed with punishing combat could make Valor Mortis one of the most talked about hardcore RPGs in years. If you're someone who loves games that test your skill and your decision-making, this is the one to watch. Hollow Knight Silksong. Few games have been anticipated as feverishly as Hollow Knight Silksong. Originally planned as DLC, it's become a full-fledged sequel, and fans of the original indie masterpiece couldn't be more excited. In Silksong, you play as Hornet, a nimble warrior with a completely different moveset from the Knight. The world is larger, the enemies deadlier, and the platforming even more intricate. Every trailer so far has shown jaw-dropping art, haunting music, and that signature mix of challenge and discovery. What makes Silksong stand out is how it evolves the Metroidvania formula. Players will be diving into biomes filled with life and decay, meeting strange characters, and unraveling mysteries that deepen the lore of this underground world. When Silksong finally launches, expect the internet to absolutely explode with excitement.
Black Myth Zhong. After Black Myth Wukong captured the world's attention, the developers at Game Science aren't slowing down. Black Myth Zhong is rumored to follow the legendary ghost hunter Zhong, a figure from Chinese mythology known for battling demons and spirits. Like Wukong, this sequel promises jaw-dropping visuals powered by Unreal Engine 5 and a combat system that blends martial arts fluidity with supernatural abilities. Where Wukong was about mythic adventure, Zhong could lean harder into horror with grotesque enemy designs and darker storytelling. If Game Science can maintain the same level of polish and creativity, Black Myth Zhong could cement this series as a new cornerstone of myth-inspired action RPGs. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2. The road to Bloodlines 2 has been long and rocky, but fans are still hopeful. The original game became a cult classic for its immersive role-playing and deep vampire lore, and a proper sequel could be incredible if handled right. Set in a modern city dripping with gothic atmosphere, Bloodlines 2 will once again let you choose your vampire clan, navigate supernatural politics, and indulge in both brutal combat and seductive persuasion. The draw isn't just the action, it's the choices, the moral gray areas, and the feeling of truly living in a vampire underworld. If the developers deliver, this could be the immersive RPG that vampire fans have been craving for decades. Silent Hill F. When Konami first revealed Silent Hill F, fans didn't know what to expect. The series had been dormant for years, and many feared that the golden age of psychological horror was gone forever. But then came the twist. Instead of the familiar foggy streets of an American small town, Silent Hill F takes us to 1960s Japan. That shift alone was enough to shock the fanbase, but as more details trickle out, it's clear this isn't just a new coat of paint. It's a bold reinvention. The story follows a young woman caught in a strange outbreak where flowers bloom grotesquely out of corpses and living flesh. It's disturbing, but also strangely beautiful, like watching decay and nature consume humanity in slow motion. Unlike past games, which leaned heavily on Western psychological horror, this one embraces Japanese themes of guilt, transformation, and generational trauma. It feels foreign and familiar at the same time, which is exactly what Silent Hill should be: unsettling, confusing, and unforgettable. In terms of gameplay, we can expect a mix of exploration and puzzle solving, with enemies that are less about brute force and more about dread. Imagine walking through a silent countryside only to see crimson petals drifting in the air, leading you to some horrifying discovery. Combat isn't the focus, survival is. Like the best Silent Hill games, the true horror comes not from the monsters themselves, but what they symbolize. Styx, Blades of Greed. Styx has always been the underdog of stealth games. While big franchises like Assassin's Creed and Dishonored got the spotlight, Styx quietly built a cult following thanks to its dark humor and hardcore stealth mechanics. Now, with Styx, Blades of Greed, the mischievous goblin thief returns, and this time, Cyanide Studios seems ready to push the series into the mainstream. The setup is classic Styx. You're a foul-mouthed, cynical goblin navigating a world that hates your kind, sneaking through fortresses, dungeons, and cities while stealing treasures and stabbing enemies in the back. But this sequel promises bigger environments and far more freedom. Imagine infiltrating a sprawling medieval port town where every rooftop, sewer, and alley offers a different way to slip past guards. Instead of linear levels, Blades of Greed is aiming for semi-open hubs filled with opportunities for clever players. What really sets Styx apart is the personality. Most stealth protagonists are brooding assassins or silent shadows. Styx, on the other hand, never shuts up. His sarcasm, insults, and fourth-wall-breaking jokes keep the tension light, even as you're hiding in the shadows with 3 guards a step away. That humor has always been a secret weapon, turning failure into comedy instead of frustration. Gameplay improvements include deeper AI that reacts to noise, light, and suspicious activity more realistically. You'll need to think creatively, use potions to clone yourself, set up distractions, or weave in acrobatics to outmaneuver enemies. But slip up, and the punishment is brutal. Styx is fragile, and one mistake can cost everything.
Project Spectrum. One of the most secretive titles coming in 2026, Project Spectrum is shrouded in mystery. What we know so far is that it's a sci-fi adventure that experiments with perception and light, creating a world where reality bends depending on how you see it. Rumors suggest gameplay mechanics built around color, with puzzles and combat changing as players shift between spectrums of light. Imagine exploring alien landscapes where one hue reveals hidden platforms while another exposes lurking threats. If done right, Project Spectrum could be one of those games that doesn't just entertain, but makes you think differently about how you interact with virtual worlds. Lords of the Fallen 2. The first Lords of the Fallen had potential, but stumbled in execution. Now, Lords of the Fallen 2 is coming back stronger, aiming to rival the giants of the Souls-like genre. With a darker aesthetic, improved combat mechanics, and a world that's interconnected and dangerous, this sequel might finally put the franchise on the map. Expect colossal bosses, weighty melee combat, and a story that blends high fantasy with grim gothic horror. If Hexworks gets this right, Lords of the Fallen 2 could transform from an underdog into one of the most respected dark fantasy RPGs on the market.
La Divina Commedia, perhaps the boldest project on this list. La Divina Commedia is an adaptation of Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Yes, you'll literally descend into hell, climb through purgatory, and ascend to paradise in a game that blends literature, myth, and dark fantasy adventure. The vision is staggering: surreal landscapes, allegorical monsters, and a narrative that explores morality and redemption. This isn't just another hack and slash, it's a journey through one of the most influential works of world literature, reimagined as an interactive epic. If the developers can balance gameplay with the weight of the source material, this could be a once-in-a-generation artistic achievement.